We're back. We did it. Okay. So the technical difficulties are now done, we hope. And I know where it started. So I'm going to start with that question because I don't think you heard any of it. And it was all messed up. But what I was talking about, and Krystal's here. You're still there, hey? You got me?
Hey, guys.
Yeah, good. Okay, cool. So what I was talking about is when we did the reading, you and I. And it was such a great reading. You gave me 3 things to think about, and I would highly recommend that everybody have a meditation. A meditation is just think about it for 10 minutes. Really, just think about it. And the three things were: what is my relationship with God? What is my relationship with love? And water. Just meditate on water. And I think that, you know, I know about God, and I know about love, and I know about the power. You know, God isn't, you know, for people listening, it's not like the bearded guy and you're worried about like what Jesus Christ thinks of you. It's like the omnipotent force, like, you know, beyond God, like God is the Son and there's a Father, like this big nature picture that we're a part of. And so, you know, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I got this. And I did it. And as soon as I started meditating on my relationship with God, it was kind of funny because like I kind of instantly got pissed off. I was like, whoa, that's interesting. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, why am I mad at God? And so I'm going through like this whole deep process within myself about my life and my experiences and the mother effing pain and the challenge. And like, why did you make me so weak and like feel everything like kind of an asshole? Like, what the F? Like, it hurts. Like, why am I going through this bullcrap? You know, like supposed to be all loving. And I had my, you know, I had my own conclusions and I went through it and I, you know, I saw it as, you know, a growing process. But then when I spoke to you before the podcast, you had a really beautiful answer that I'm congruent with, but I like your answer. So maybe you can share what you shared when I said that.
Okay, yeah. So when we were, or before this podcast, we just touched base on, you know, what happened and sharing that information and what flew through you. And so, yes, when we ask those questions, you know, what is my relationship with God? And a lot of us can dive deep and find the passion and the compassion that we have for all beings, for ourselves, for us being here is such a gift of life. But then on the flip side, there's a part of us that says, you know, why did this happen to me? Why am I here? Why am I going through this pain and this suffering? And why was I, you know, just dropped off on a spacecraft and landed here? So what we can start doing is understanding the laws of polarities. And the laws of polarities of the positive and negative aspects, everything, those are just ideas and how we can weigh out the yin yang. But nothing is considered not divine. Everything and all that is divine essence. And so all these opposing scenarios or opposing don't say scenarios that have happened in reflection of all the love enlightened ones are just used as tools so that we can have a deeper understanding and use those as a tool, as an opportunity to heal from. I think I mentioned to you before that we were sent here on Earth School, and that's something that you really resonated with.
Yeah.
And then on a soul level, you know, getting sent over to, you know, Earth and going in through our particular incarnations, there may be threads and strands from past lives or even future lives and even parallel existences that have been rooted into our physical blueprint or even our situational blueprint or an environment. And so when we dive into the Akashic records and we begin to release and attune and allow these high vibrational forces to flow through, which is our angels and guides, maybe their ascended masters, we are able to receive information that are used as guiding tools and forces that allow us to accustom and release any tension that no longer serves us. And that means on this plane, but also on several other planes. You're basically going into a holographic matrix of life. on a soul level, which may sound really deep for some people, but that's basically a visual that you can receive.
Yeah, I love it. Well, the way that I frame it is we're in some sort of like virtual reality video game, and we kind of figured out what we needed to do and learn. So we popped down, and we're basically in this, learning ground. Like, it's the greatest learning ground there could ever be. It's crazy here. And so, for me, like, I reach higher, states of connection through meditation or whatever that is. And it's like, there's places of joy and peace. And then there's places of despair in this dimension. So there must be reason and purpose when you can touch, whatever you would call like God presence. And then the second part of the meditation with love, it was so interesting to just go into my thoughts on it. It's so powerful. It's the most powerful force in all of existence. I put a Bashar quote on Instagram the other day. It's like, love is the actual frequency of existence itself, I think it said. And I thought that was really neat. I've also heard somebody say that unconditional love is all there is. Everything else is like product of the mind.
Right.
So I really love those, and I can get to those states where I touch it, but it's interesting to go through mentally, what clearing I have to do to have an even stronger relationship with God, with myself, with love. So really incredibly powerful meditation. If anybody wanted to take that up, I highly recommend giving it a shot, because it was a good one for me.
Yeah, and even touching base on, the relationship with love, and even finding or allowing yourself to see those areas that you can send love to, and or where you can heal from. Just right now on this planet and in this time and space, since there is so much consciousness awakening and everyone is really beginning to delayer and lift the veils of perceptions, begin to see a little bit clearer for their mind, body, and spirit. Just the light out there is really powerful. It's very strong. The cosmos are working within our favor. And all you have to do is really make the call and create that relationship with self. Create the relationship with self and also your higher selves, your angels and guides. And use that relationship as a tool for you to heal, for you to expand, for you even to create and find purpose and intention within each action and within each movement. And when you begin to create that relationship and have that inner child be the explorer, even with asking those questions from above and asking those questions from self within, you can now begin to use that as a tool and how you can bring purpose in this reality and infuse your creative endeavors with love, with that unconditional love and that authenticity and that integrity that lies within. Because each one of us have a different alchemy. We're all a different alchemy. But we do have somewhat of a construct of physicality. We have our physical needs. We also have our spiritual needs. We also have our mental needs. And we can begin to see how everything is connected. And we're living in a connected universe. And when I personally use sound, but you can use sound, you can use meditation, you can use an activity, maybe it's even action, whatever that it is that brings you to a state of happiness. Allow yourself to be in that state of bliss and awareness, but also be that curious cat of the inner child and play. And that playful energy allows you to be curious and use those times to ask those questions. How am I feeling this way? Like, what is my relationship with God? What is my relationship with love? When you're even at those loving states. And maybe these puzzle pieces of the connected universe or the connection with self and others may come about. So what I really like to emphasize through meditation is developing that connection with self, developing that connection with self-love, and the multi-dimensional aspects of yourself. And we probably all have heard this, but maybe not. But, you know, if you were to see yourself or see your life as it is right now from a higher view, and just as if you didn't know yourself, as you knew yourself as a friend, or if you're seeing outside another lens of your being, and see the flow and maybe the frequency of how your life is and how you're spending your time. How are you filling yourself with fuel, nutrients? What fuels you? What fuels your heart? What fuels your soul? What creates happiness within that? And maybe you can see like, oh, you're not getting enough sleep or rest here, or maybe you're getting too excited right here, or your attention's right here. And then you can kind of see, oh, this is how my alchemy is moving. Oh, okay, it's not really embodied or full or at a balanced state, but maybe it's pulled at certain strings and directions. So it's nice to take that reflection upon self through meditation to see where you can send more love to in areas and how you're spending your time, and also where you can spend more or send more love to to yourself and to your body, because your body is a tool. Your body is used as a tool. And like a lot of people say, our brains are our antennas. They're our antennas that are receiving information from our heart, which is receiving information through source. And so through meditation, what you can do is return to your breath. I'm a big advocate of returning to your breath, because when you return to the breath, you're taking a deep breath into a birth of something new. And when you exhale, that is the death of energy. And so the birth and death is creating breath. And that creates balance. It's the yin and yang energy, or it's, you know, the divine masculine, divine feminine, the push and the pull and the harmony and that resonance. And when we begin to use breath as a guiding force to center oneself and to feed ourselves into its natural state of divine love, maybe that inner child, or when you see that baby, it's just in love. It's in that state. We can remember who we are. And that stillness is what holds the secrets of eternity, of the eternal soul. And that's where I offer people to create that relationship with higher self, to begin to ask those questions. What is my relationship with God? What is my relationship with love? And offering that I gave to you, if some others want to go deeper, is what is my relationship with water? Because we're made out of it, mostly 70%.
Wow, that's awesome. That was just wow, amazing. I love it. I just kind of like love the way you weave into such just important fundamental concepts, deep questions that we need to be asking ourselves, and fundamental truths, right? We sometimes make it a lot more complicated than it is, you know? It's just facing and learning about the things that we really need to learn about, I think, you know, and really think about things that we really should, or no shoulds, just can. It might make you feel better or discover more of who you are, right? And that's where, you know, self-love is so important. It's interesting when I work with athletes and I work with people when I'm doing coaching, it's like sometimes they're really successful in sport, or sometimes they're successful in business, but they don't have happiness. And it's odd, you know, and a lot of people struggle with self-worth and self-love. I do. I struggle with self-worth, you know, and somebody like in one of the podcasts I had, you know, I've had pretty good feedback. And one of the guys, like, what did he say? Something like, yeah, but like, it's not about you. And I was like, screw you, man. I was like, you know me. And I was like, why don't you take the time, just like talk shit? Like, tell me personally, you know what I mean? Like a constructive criticism or something. So it's like, I'm too soft for this, you know? I'm just like, I feel all fucking hurt and stuff. So, you know, it's interesting to find like that deep self-love has to come within, you know, and that's the only place it's cultivated. And so many of us struggle with it. So I think that's why it's so important to be kind and compassionate and to be loving and of service of people. It's like the most fundamental thing. It's your fundamental nature, and it is more fundamental to love yourself. I just find it curious that we need to work on it. It's kind of silly.
Yeah, and even with the mechanisms of self-love and what that means as you grow deeper within self-love. I mean, there's a lot of amazing beings that are stepping into being a service to their self, being a service to their soul, being a service to the planet, and being in that service with self-love. You can express love and compassion for others and for all beings. And taking a step deeper into that, when you have the opposing forces, I'm just using that as a fun way to dictate that energy, but opposing forces that you may feel that are coming at you, and maybe be, saying some sort of comments and something like that doesn't really suit your ego's personality. It gives us an opportunity to allow and send love to that, really. Because when someone comes up to you, or there's an angry situation, someone's yelling at you, say with family, I think that's a tight situation that people can get all wrapped up in because we grew up with them. And so people may have an argument or there may be an argument with a family member, and you may see them in a heated situation, thus trying to portray and protrude energy at you. So therefore you can meet its vibration and sync within that. And therefore you get into that sponge-like nature. As you continue on your self-love path and beginning to feel your self-love and become creating that armor of strength, almost like Krystal or self-love, and having self-love rotate within you. It also is divine feminine, but it's also divine masculine. Because you need to create that armor. You need to really crystallize that within your being, so that is only of your condition. And so when you see those opposing forces, or that family member yelling at you or something of that nature, you can actually be the bigger person there and still be able to shine and still have that shield, that crystalline shield. I like to use that visualization, but crystalline shield of self-love that has its alchemical matrix of divine feminine, of pure passion, compassion, and divine masculine, of holding its shell. And now it's radiating conscious energy so that the other person can actually release and relieve tension rather than feed that energy. That makes sense. I kind of twirled off there, but
yeah, I love that. But did you just try to coach me on my own podcast, you son of a gun?
No.
It was super good. I love that, and I love when you're saying it. It's true, because we need to develop that kind of armor, because it is, when I say it, as far as like fighting and martial arts go, like I wrote about this the other day. It was like my first reaction to something like that is to like, I wish they were in front of me, and I would want to just kick their ass, because I'm like pretty primal, like caveman, like, you're being a dick, I should kick your ass because now it's physical and we're 3D and we can sort this out. But that's never the way to go, because it's obviously, and it's stupid. But when you get to the point, and I use a story like, if you go to the bar and you get in fights your whole life, then you decide you're not going to fight anymore. And then you go to the bar and the guy is an a-hole. And then so you fight him. And then next week you let that slide. And then the week after that, he calls you an a-hole. And you're really mad at him and you let it slide again. And then the week after that, he calls you an a-hole, but you don't have any anger in you. It's like more compassion. And it's like, look, I have love for myself, and I also have love for you. And that's when the Ascended Masters are talking about unconditional love. It's easy to love people who love you. So you get these little challenges and say, hey, look, how can I send that person or that circumstance or that family member or that person on the internet is being a dick, you don't even know who they are. How can I send them love, like real, genuine love, not fake love, not like, oh, in my mind I'm sending them love. It's just like, no, sit with it. Sit with your discomfort. Sit with the pain and the attack of the ego and who you think you are. Sit in it. Find that love and connection and source in that infinite being that you are. Fill yourself up with real freaking love and blast that douchebag back with it, but now you love them and you're like, you're being a douche, but I love you anyways. Like, take that. I'm blasting you, and I'm okay over here. I'm gonna go eat a sandwich and hang out with people who love me, go skateboarding or something, you know? And then you've really now taken that as a catalyst, right? And that's alchemy, which I love. Alchemy, I think, have lead to gold, but you need the lead to make the gold. So if you don't have any lead, you got no fuel. You want to chime in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what I was also thinking of is it's also kind of respect of other people's journeys. I think sometimes we get really stuck in this 3D world and 3D attachments, and maybe that be in a relationship with other human beings or other just relationship wise, we get stuck in these attachments and they become our stories, they become submerged into our blueprint. But when we can understand and really look into that person or other, if they're on the internet, just feel into and respect that person's soul journey, is that the reason why they're lashing out is because there's somewhere that they're still experiencing pain.
Totally.
And
yeah,
so and now that's the one actually realizing that is really stepping into their mastery of understanding each soul's journey, and that we're all on the same path. We're all on the same path, and that we are all one, and that the energies of duality no longer need to play its part. Because duality, and that's what's really exciting as we're entering into this golden era of consciousness and global change and, spiritual change, just whatever you want to call it. We're going into this amazing golden age in which the love revolution will definitely thrive. But with that being, since that's also thriving in the polarities of it, a lot of things will corrupt. A lot of change will happen, even on a planetary basis and even with relationships. And so since we're on that revolution, and since consciousness is rising in all these beautiful ways, what's interesting, I have an online teacher that I listen to, is Matt Kahn. And when he explained is, as consciousness rises, as you raise your consciousness, it's like going up an elevator, and on each floor or each wave of consciousness, it's a different type of alchemy. And as you go up, what was once on floor 3 no longer exists in floor 5. So you have to shed those relationships, shed those attachments, shed those habits. Because once those are completely shedded, now you're creating a resonance with a higher vibration, a higher oscillation, and a higher frequency. And that's what our bodies are attuning to, the more that we can surrender and begin to receive. Because everything is already, mapped out for us one way or the other. Source has a plan. So the more that we surrender to that divine love within, that self-love, and begin to respect all beings with love and compassion, and that there is no duality, and that we understand that oneness mechanism, then we can begin to forgive even deeper and heal even deeper by holding that resonance within ourselves. And that doesn't mean you have to, go run out and try to save the world after you feel that. Know that you're already doing your job by just doing self-work and self-love and anchoring that into your consciousness. You're anchoring these experiences in consciousness. You're anchoring those meditative, journeys within your consciousness. And now, in theory, that has been downloaded into the cloud space of energy that is now readily available for others to access when they meditate. Because again, it's a vibrational frequency that's finding its resonance and match. And that makes me think of how these transformational festivals, twirling back to Burning Man and Lightning in a Bottle, hold that space where a lot of magic happens, because our bodies are attuning, and there are tools that are accessible for us to learn a newer way of life, and that we're opening up our minds, healing, transforming into just energetic vortex of love. and acceptance and just these newer modalities. So you just pick up on the vibes already, and that's why it's amazing that these festivals are just growing, and people are going to these festivals and taking what they've learned, and what's most important of all is integrating, coming back home, bringing what they learned and integrated it into their body, having those soulful awakenings now turn into a soulful experience, into an integration of how you live your life, integration of how you can share with others that maybe couldn't make it to those festivals, and create your own little communities. So we start sprawling out and create this beautiful, grid-like energy around the world in which we're all tapping into. And what we're all tapping into is that divine love, that center, because we all come from the same place. There are no dualities. And just doing that work and having that experience is enough. And how you want to creatively play it out is up to you, because we live in a world of infinite potential.
I love that, man. That was a really good rant. I rant, but you rant equally, if not much better than I do. That was really
that was a troll. Yeah.
I loved it. It's so good. You made like a really good segue. You talked about we've talked about angels and guides and healers, talked about the golden age. And so to some people, that's a really foreign concept. Now, for Burning Man, I love that you brought that up, because for me, I wrote an article last year. It was a theory in frequency and vibration about how everybody's in their heart resonance, and our heart emits a signal. I think it's 800 times stronger than our mind through heart math. You can Google it. I think that's what it is. But it's a magnetic frequency outside of our body that's measurable. So as we're in our heart resonance, we're creating an energetic field. So I see people having spontaneous healings, all kinds of wild stuff, playa magic, law of attraction. It's all working itself out through love, through a higher frequency. And it's pretty amazing to watch people literally transform. They don't go back the same way. And it's super beautiful. So for me, one of the things that I had to accept, really, the heavy hit for me was, aliens at lightning in a bottle, or higher dimensional beings. Like when someone's channeling, like you look at Abraham Hicks, one of the largest publication on this planet on the law of attraction is channeled from Abraham, a group of entities. Same with Bashar, which is massive. He downloads amazing information. And then you've got Cryon, and you've got a bunch of other people that are channeling these higher dimensional beings. And so now we're in these frequency states where I'm hearing more people talk about, I'm from this star system, like I'm from the Pleiades. And I had, one day for me, I was sitting there and I looked up something on the Pleiades, and my body, like the second I push play, because there's Pleiadian channelers, right, which are fourth and ninth dimensional beings. I think I gotta look it up on Google. I don't even know my own heritage, but I push play, and my body has a head-to-toe vibration. Now, interestingly enough, over the last 6 months or 8 months, like let's say somebody gives me an idea, and I intuitively think that's a good idea. Now I get an additional body vibration, so it's not even a guess anymore. It's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, and my body vibrates like bung. I'm like, okay, cool. And even now in meditation, I'm meditating for a long time, my body will actually start to sway like I'm in water. Like it's kind of interesting, and it just starts to happen. And I'm not trying, I'm just doing it. So I get this full body vibration. And then I ask, am I? And I was like, that's really weird, right? And I was like, am I Pleiadian? And my body was like, I was getting like just not electrocuted, but like buzzing, like very strong. So, it's like a heavy thought for me, because even I'm an out there person. And, the second I did ayahuasca, that was one of my questions. So what is your understanding on, as we're moving up in frequency, we're obviously moving up in understanding as a species, and there's obviously a lot more at play, and if you look into anything, it's a concept, but I think people misperceive aliens as like some sort of spaceships coming down, they're going to attack, and there's good and bad, where I'm perceiving it more as like frequency levels. And I'm also seeing it as kind of like if we're a bunch of tribal people, and we're living in the forest, and then we go find water, and then, you know, we find whales, and then all of a sudden we find smaller fish, and then all of a sudden when we get into science, we're finding life everywhere. So I think that that scale of life goes up and down, and we can tune into whatever information that is.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I'm right there with you, man, especially when it comes to what does it mean to be connecting with higher dimensional energies, and what does it mean for ourselves to be able to have that contact or have that remembrance and feel like an electrocutional, you know, energy through us. We maybe get the chills, there's a vibrational movement, and physically we're beginning to feel it, because maybe at times people are mentally being able to feel it, because the more that we align in our, you know, energetic, subtle, emotional, physical body, mental body fields, we're able to align and actually feel those vibrational movements and wavering feelings throughout us. But as I'll just scroll back to, as I mentioned, as we're raising our consciousness, we're raising our awareness, we're also beginning to enter new dimensional ways of thinking and higher dimensional attributes. And so what I've learned from my guides is that, yes, we got sent over here in Earth School, and what we've learned here is that how to remember ourselves and how we are just a fragment of source. And so when we begin to remember how we are a fragment of source, we can now see the light channels and the multidimensionality that we're a part of. And so a lot of people have said this, and I'm an advocate of it myself, but you know, we're all human beings turning into angels on earth. And we connect with our angels for guidance and for awareness and to heal. And in transmission, since we acquire that knowledge, we also feel the divine guidance now to share and to help others heal. So now it's already moving down the matrix, because since we're beginning to embody our higher selves, the hues, the colors, the vibrations of our higher selves into our physical reality, our consciousness is raising, but those ascended masters and those, you know, star beings that oscillating at these higher vibration are now being able to reach and find its match. The reason why through times and through decades that contact was a little foreign for a lot of people, and a really far out there, and less pods or pools of channels were able to access that. Now, since a lot of people are coming into the awakening and the power of love, the power of creation, the power of the universe, it's now creating more of a force field where it's accessible to more people. And so as we're raising our vibration, we're actually raising our vibration to a higher dimension. And on the flip side, as above, so below. So as above, these higher dimensional beings are oscillating and now being able to reach these lower dimensions because the fields are open. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah. Well, it makes a bit of sense to me. Who knows, however other people think. Well, one of the concepts, like, I'd love to hear your thought. I know that in your channeling, you'll get a lot of same information. So one of the interesting channels is Dolores Cannon. And if you haven't seen Dolores, she's the best. But that's where I got as soon as that happened and I got that vibration, I really started looking into it. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So it's a little old lady with a perm, and she would do these past life hypnosis with people. And then beings started to come through. So people would be hypnotized, and then beings would come through and talk to her. And if you see this lady, she's like 88 with a perm. Like, she's like, it's amazing. So she's just talking, and then she's like, you know, they came through and I ignored them for a while, but they didn't stop. So I figured I would just write down what they'd say. And so she's like, I've been writing that down for like 14 years or some absurd amount of time. She's got a bunch of books. And basically the idea is that Earth is a living being.
Right.
And that, you know, if you think about as a living being too, as far as consciousness goes, if Earth is a living being, well, then the moon is like his homies right there. They can communicate in some sort of manner, you know what I mean? But we don't have the consciousness level to even perceive this kind of thing. And that's one thing where you don't have to do them. But people who have done ayahuasca and gone to Burning Man, the concept of aliens or higher frequencies is not foreign to us. It's actually very, 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 very real, and we're trying to wrap our heads around it. Chime in. I see your finger.
Yeah, well, I want to like touch base on that is because we have our ancestors, right? And what I really like to bring into visualization and understanding, and what I've learned for myself is the laws of polarity and as above, so below energy. So now, for those that have done a lot of ceremonies and worked with these different herbs and with different shamans, they're working with so many different realms, but we all can say our ancestors, right? And we connect when we say our ancestors, our heritage, our lineage, and whatever that may be, and what we may connect to. So that's that energy on that end, and the polar opposite from the stars. So that energy as well, and the people of the stars, and even the energies of the stones. Everything has its vibrational essence. Everything, everything is living to a certain extent and has matter and energy flowing through. And so it just makes me just twirled a remembrance of how we have our ancestors and we have the as above energy too. So it's all accessible.
Well, yeah, it's such an interesting concept, right? Because we're like, if you look at where we were like 50 or 100 years ago,
right?
You know, they're gonna you look at Star Trek, you know, those old 80s, and a lot of that stuff is here now, right? So it's just really opening up to the belief, opening up bigger and bigger and bigger, and discovering more of our own power on a higher level, and just kind of allowing and almost just suspending disbelief. So how is this useful? Well, one of the ways, Nassim Haramein, who you've ran into and watched him talk at Burning Man, which I'm so jealous of, you know, he's got like 9 hours on like YouTube. And, you know, at hour 3 or something, he starts going, or, you know, basically gets into aliens. And if you look at the oldest temple, in Egypt, the Temple of Osiris, there's a flower of life laser etched perfectly in the center beam. And they apparently can't create that right now. And we've got all of this information. So, you know, the question kind of becomes like, well, what the heck do I do with this? How is that even useful? Well, one of the ways I think that it's useful, that I heard Nassim Haramein and a bunch of other smart cookies talk about, was when we realize that there are higher dimensional beings and that there's layers to this, we can realize that we really are one race, one humanity, one global humanity, and stop killing each other. Like back in the 80s, 90s, and it's still going on today, but black on black crime. You know, they're just like, we've got this system and it's, you know, the white man oppressing us, but maybe we should stop killing each other because that's just stupid. And so when we can open up our minds to these bigger concepts of these higher energies, which are all loving and exponential, then we can really start to make sense and come back to what matters. You know, and start taking care of each other, start taking care of the planet, and you know, moving forward and accepting these things, and maybe allowing the space for, you know, these beings or these energies or these frequencies to be downloaded, because that's what it is. It's tuning in. It's not like Independence Day where these creatures are waiting with freaking guns. You know what I mean? That's such a stupid, dumb concept. You know, they're not sitting there with an army ready to come down. It's a frequency level. You know?
Yeah, and I think that's I think that's important for individuals to be aware of, that it's a frequency level. And as we attune our body, attune our consciousness, and begin to reach these very love-based states, that we're able to receive information from higher dimensions and also different realms, because everything is working with us. When you begin to trust and to love that everything is working in your favor in order for you to find peace and balance within, then you'll be able to start making and listening to that gut, that intuition. Maybe it's your higher self, maybe it's an entity, maybe it's a, you know, extraterrestrial, whatever it is. You begin to listen to that as tools to integrate into this physical reality, and use that as a tool. Because when you begin to create that relationship with the star systems or higher selves, ancestors, any other fractal portion of your soul self, they're really coming at you. And as a reminder, it's a symbol. These are all symbols. Even the flower of life, it's a symbol. It's coming up into our consciousness. It's a symbol of remembrance of who we are and the expansiveness of who we are, and how we're just players working together as one humanity, serving the universe, serving our soul, and living on Gaia as a vessel, as a being.
Totally. I dig all that. And one thing that came to mind when you were talking about it is, for somebody, and this is the interesting thing, for someone, you know, ayahuasca is a consciousness medicine, and Burning Man. So, you know, one of the concepts that I really took home with ayahuasca was, I've heard it before, but, you know, I experienced it very directly, was that we are children in the eyes of God. We really have no concept of this big game at all. We are operating on such a low vibrational level, like we perceive a very small scale of the light spectrum. And I guess in the fifth dimension, that's how I perceive it, you know, going is to the fifth dimension, or this higher realm of love, a world that makes freaking sense as we start to connect. But apparently in this realm, you're going to see colors you couldn't imagine, shapes, animals, all these kind of things. And I remember being in ayahuasca in this state, and then just really like, oh, like just so humbled that I had, it's like there's not even a reference point. And the way that I kind of try to make a sense to people is like, if you gave a duck ayahuasca, or the way that I think that our consciousness is going to leap. So you've got a duck and you've got a human, and then you got the leap. So then the duck is conscious, and you give him the ayahuasca, or somehow he's conscious, and you're like, hey, duck, how's it going on? And he's like, good. And he's like, what the heck is going on? And he sees a TV, and he's like, what is that? And you're like, dude, that's a TV. And he's like, what's a TV? How's that image coming? And then he sees a bag of chips. Like, you know, how does that come in the bag? Like, he's going to have no language, no reference point, no nothing. So then he goes back down to being a duck, and then he starts quacking at his buddies because there's no language for the experience that he's just had. So when you either reach this state through meditation or some sort of gifted experience, or through ayahuasca, you're like, oh my God, I have no reference point. So what you hope is that other people, other ducks, will have the experience. So maybe they bring down in that information one small fractal of this new energy, this new awareness that you kind of got to slowly chip away at, because it's way too much to take at once. Like, I'm an out there dude, and I still like battle it, because I'm like, oh my God, like, is this actually what's going on? Am I insane? Or is this actually what's going on? And then it's great when I go to Burning Man, because I got other people saying the exact same thing through different experiences, talking about, you know, whether it's out-of-body experiences, aliens, vibrations, frequencies, moving to a new dimension. This is normal to them, and but they're navigating it in a way where there's no certainty, but we're seeing something that, you know, we have no reference point for. So it's kind of tough to talk about. You know, you can basically just quack.
Basically just quack. What I think is amazing is about when having those experiences, you're reaching those higher states of frequencies, and therefore, like you said, maybe you do see a different brighter hue of colors, and your awareness has broadened scope even more, redefining your reality, because you can almost see clearly off of those cloudy perceptions that we have made gathered over time. And so almost these herbs are acting as cleansing, soulful mechanisms so that we can return to our natural state. And I think what's important is that we can attune and take those states into its natural state of being without those herbs and without those external influences, but maintaining and holding that space. So, of course, that's easier said than done, because a lot of people have those experiences, go back into the world of what they were living in, and now are slowly making those changes as need be. But what is amazing is that we do have the power of complete presence to make changes and to swift through the universe and navigate our life with full trust and support that we're going to be supported, and in oscillating at those higher vibrational states. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and I think that it's super important to be able to do them without the states. And my kind of you know, caveat is that I can have the ayahuasca DMT experience through a breath pattern. That
I was going to say that, yeah. The breath, through breath work and that vitality, because if you think about breath and what it's doing, it's oscillating more oxygen through you. And the more oxygen is the more life force that's flowing through you. And even in tandem of the alchemy of reaching those higher states and living in that vibration, it's even about what food you put into your body and making your body a little bit more alkaline. And when your body's more alkaline, it can receive more oxygen. So when you have, I personally practice a raw food diet, which I have been for the past couple of years now, and using breath work as a tool to stimulate the body, to hone into my being, I can see more colors. Like, my vision is amazing. It's such a beautiful world when you begin to attune to that vibration and attune to that state. And really, now it's your job, it's your responsibility to your soul, responsibility to yourself is to maintain and to continue to evolve and share and be of service. And so breath work is definitely a helpful tool to help maintain and feed the body that nutrient so it can extend at that frequency at natural states.
Yeah, totally. It's such a powerful, it's an ancient practice, as they've been doing it in India forever. And one of the ones that I always talk about is Wim Hof, because he's the Iceman and he does, you know, all these amazing things through his own breath pattern that he developed. And randomly enough, his son, Anam Hof, ends up at our camp at Burning Man and does a workshop with us. And it's amazing to see, because Anam's an amazing guy, Wim's an amazing guy. It's so human what they can do, right? They're not saying like, this is out there. You said like, I'm out there, right? And they want to be like, this is like, anybody can do this. This is not, you know, something that's reserved for monks on a mountain, or, you know, you got to do 25 Hail Marys, and there's like, anybody can do this. And I think that that's a really important part, because you can touch these spaces that are extremely powerful and extremely potent through your own body, through, you know, through your own practices that have just been forgotten. I guess one thing that I want to touch on that you might have information that I'm just curious about, I've heard a lot about, you know, dimensions and frequency. So as I'm perceiving it, we're moving from third to fifth dimension. And then I've also heard about, what is it? There's dimensions, and what's the other one? It has to do with like the veil. Hold on. Crap, it'll come back to me, and I know it all the time, but basically you can speak on dimensions and I'll figure out, do you know what I'm talking about? Like the other lifting thing, I think it has to do with our veil or awareness, but I know
lifting of our veils and shifting our perceptions. So I mean, I think it all goes in tandem, actually, what you're trying to get out here of you know, going to another dimension, or all these different types of dimensions. And it's something that you can use as a reference point, as a tool. And like I mentioned before, as you continue to raise your vibration and go to the next floor of the elevator, of the stages of each dimension or consciousness, there's new rules on one floor than there is on the higher up one. And so as you continue to go up the spiraling matrix, you're also going down the spiraling matrix. You're also going the side. You're going in all directions. So it's not just up, it's all around. It's full expansion. And then you are less worried about the more 3D world of the ego of how I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, you still have to live. Everything is real. All of this is real. And you still have your personal, you still have your physical needs. But the thing is, when you begin to oscillate into these higher dimensions and beginning to embody it, you're being more of service to your soul rather than service to the ego. And when you're in service to the soul, you may be receiving downloads of how you can even anchor higher vibrations within your work that you do, or even within your lifestyle. So there's a lot of creative, amazing people that are, you know, they do art, but they don't know why they're doing it. So they're just creating art for the sake of art. Well, how about going into meditation, revisiting those questions? You know, what is my relationship with God? What is my relationship with love? What is my relationship with X, Y, and Z? Connect and start connecting with the multidimensional aspects for yourself, say your higher self, and trust that you'll receive information that you can use into your work. So if you're like an artist, like what you can ask yourself is like, or through meditation, is what pattern or what color does the universe, or does the universe need at this time for the highest consciousness of all? And so maybe you'll receive a color, and maybe you want to use that color in the next wall graffiti mural that you do. Because what that is now anchoring that into a consciousness, and now others can see and pick up on that vibration. And so that's why whatever you're embedding any action with, in any way that you're spending your life, there are anticipation and notions that are occurring vibrationally that you can connect with yourself and through your guides and offer to others.
Well, I love that. What I was going to chime in on is I know that so many people are going through transition,
Right.
you know, and a lot of the struggle is with money. And how do I don't want to do this crappy corporate job, but how the heck do I make money? So how do you kind of guide people in transition? Because some people are in the game and they want out of the game, but they want to be secure, because fair enough, they want to be secure.
Right. So the first thing that I like to offer people is understanding self-worth. Self-worth, and I am worthy. I am worthy. Since we live in a vibrational universe, and before, you know, people used to think about life is money, but right now life is art. And since we're creatively crafting and maneuvering through it, creating a relationship with yourself that you are worthy, you are worthy, you are abundance. There's a saying that I picked up on with my own twirl, but this affirmation has worked for several of the people that I work with and share my services with. But I have money like I have love, rich and abundant, and may it come in miraculous ways. So using that notion of making money, knowing that you are worthy of this, that you can put a number to this, and being comfortable with it. A lot of people say it's like, oh, you know, I'm not worth $1 million, or that's too much for me. Like, that's impossible. That's only that self-limiting belief that is kind of veiling that you from there, instead of creating the I am presence. The I am presence, I am worthy, I am rich with love, I'm rich with abundance. Even the food that you're eating and taking in, this is rich with nutrients, this is rich with energy. Just allowing that fruition to flow through you, and in all acts and ways of kindness, that richness, integrity, authentic feeling that flows through. That is the behavioral pattern that we need to really condition to that natural state. And from there, that's where, when you can create that relationship with money and worth, you'll be able to craft and maneuver what's accessible within the field of work that you do. But first, since we live in that law of attraction, that power of attraction, that self-worth, and knowing that's accessible and it's in your hands, and the I am presence is key. So, yeah.
That is the best affirmation I have ever heard around money. I was writing it, so I want to make sure that can you say it one more time?
Yeah, I'll say it one more time. I have money like I have love, rich and abundant, and may it come in miraculous ways.
That is so mother effing beautiful. I love it.
And when you're calling that forth, you're really sending those signals out to the universe that, man, the universe has my back. The universe has my back, and the passion and the loving endeavors that I put my heart and soul to is because that law of attraction and even in that subconscious, like using that as a mantra in the morning or however you want to input that into your, you know, routine or rituals, and calling forth the richness of what feeds your body. And that's why I brought in nutrients too. Just what fuels is the richness and the fullness, and knowingness of the I am present.
Yeah, it's so magical. Like when you said it, you know, from the work that I've done, I was able to kind of just see how powerful that statement is for some of the things that you were expressing there. You know, it's hard to explain, but yeah, it's very, very good. Like the power of language, like one of the masteries, something like this is my friend Michael Lozier, who wrote the book, The Law of Attraction, sold 1.3 something ridiculous amount of books around the world. And one of the just most masterful things he came up with was, you know, when you're talking about what you don't want, so you don't want to imagine the American flag or don't think of a purple hippopotamus, you got to do it. So the whole brilliance was just the sentence, so what do I want? It's so simple, but it's so powerful to just switch that energetic vibration. So this affirmation is so simple. And what you said there about having the universe on your side is so important because it's assuming it's on your side, and you're assuming it's with love. So many people that are so kind and generous are yogis, and they're giving. They feel like they would just, and this is like speaking to me personally, I just want to give, and I feel like I don't need to receive. Like if I heal someone, if I do coaching, if I do, you know, for so long I would do marketing, so I'd make money from businesses, but then I would just help all of my friends for free because like that's just how I operated. I never, you know, wanted to take it. And it's when you address like taking money and holding it, like feeling dirty, I've always felt like that. So I've kind of like kept it away from me, you know, and it's something that I'm definitely transitioning now. I know eventually I'm going to have lots of it. Right now, I'm in the process of attracting lots of it and allowing it and being okay to receive it and hold it and be like, and so when you say the word, you know, like I have love, it's something that so many of us are trying to give, you know? And so when you tie the two in, you're like, yeah, man. And then the universe is 2 thumbs up and it just makes sense. So it kind of just, I don't know, makes it feel good the whole way.
Yeah, definitely. And even that giving and that receiving energy, that push, and then that pull, that give, that receive, it's a dance. It's a dance. And when you can start seeing it as a harmonious dance in which you're giving and you're receiving, and be comfortable and be at ease of that flow and full trust that the universe has your back, that when you, and in creating that relationship between those two energies is now allowing yourselves to really, I'm kind of moving my hands around because I'm thinking of the sacred geometry of the Vesica Pisces energy of the two circles moving forth to each other, the give and then the receive. And then you have that center energy, which is what you're fueling with your desires, and that light that flows through into that Vesica Pisces energy, which is the universal womb of creation. So, and that's where you create. We live on this planet. Sometimes people call it the cosmic playground, because Earth is a cosmic playground, because we do live in a world of choice, and we do live in a world of infinite potential. All we have to do is to release the self-limiting beliefs and receive and just allow ourselves to remember our true divine essence of being a light being that is filled with abundance of love. So
amazing. I love it. So good. I love it.
Yeah.
So good. So you've dropped so many amazing insights. I've loved this conversation. It's been a little while. It's been an hour and a half. You and I both know that I could just talk to you for as long as I wanted. So I just want to ask you if there's anything that you want to talk about. I'm sitting here in Canada and you're in New York, and I just don't know if there's anything else that you would like to share at all before we wrap up. You want to go for another hour, or do you got like a nugget? Like,
well, just for everyone out there and whoever feels the drawn attraction to take a listen, I think it's important to just bring into the awareness and realization that we're at a conscious change in the planet, and we're in the conscious change within ourselves. And that when we take those steps to go a little deeper, to go a little more inwards into that self-loving mechanism that breathes and soars so freely, we can begin to set ourselves free and walk into freedom and into that abundance and really create a life, a universe that really meets the vibration of our heart's desires. So that's a little mouthful, but really take that in and understand that we're all in it together, and that to remember the I am presence, because it's powerful.
So that was really beautiful, but do you just want to explain a little bit on the I am presence so people are clear? Because I'm aware how powerful that is, and I would just like to double down on your thoughts on it.
Right. So, and just to double down on the I am presence is when you're creating, or when you're saying the I am. So we'll just use as a reference, I have rich with love. I have money like I have love, rich and abundant, and may it come in miraculous ways. You've just stated the I am presence, because you have that quality is yours. It is now yours. It's in the full present moment. And so when you're in that full present moment of love, of beingness, the I am presence, your body, your mind, your spirit is attuning to that power, to that force in which you have that intuitive knowingness, that flow within you. And so thinking it, speaking it, saying it, writing it down, whatever you want to come into fruition, use the power of the I am presence for the drive of the law of attraction, and for the drive of creating a very beautiful life for yourself. Does that sum that up, or is there anything else you'd like to chime in on with that?
Yeah, no, that was beautiful and bang on. I also wanted to add the caveat, when you're saying the I am presence, you're invoking the I am, like the mighty I am, like the all I am, God presence, God force, because it's in you, right? You've got false little Matt Belair ego, which is, something. But when I'm like the I am like source experiencing life through Matt. So that's kind of how I understand it as well. I don't know if that's right on your thoughts. I think
definitely that was flowing through. You picked up on that. Picked up on that where I left it out.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful, perfect. Yeah, because that's it, right? That's really calling in, because every single one of us is a creator. We cannot not create, right? If you look at a little kid, and it's your kid and she's 5, you'll say to them, you can create anything and you want in your life, but somewhere along the lines we start cutting corners, so if we can tap into just the present moment, that's where all of creation is, and there is no problem. So I think that it's such a powerful statement, and I think that you said a lot of things that were just so powerful, and each of them, sometimes you would say a sentence that we could just go deep into, because I would recognize it and think it was so beautiful. So thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for your work, because I know how hard you work, and I know your beautiful intention and who you are as a human being. So thank you so much for everything that you do, for who you are, for all the amazing lives you touch. You're freaking amazing.
Thanks, Matt. It's been a treat. We're just mirror reflections.
Thanks. So tell people, if they want to get a hold of you, how they might do so.
Okay, yeah. So I have my website, which is krystalinparadigm.com. So right now I'm in the process of writing a few books, which is really exciting, on how you can tap into your intuition and connect with your higher selves, angels and guides, and also how you can start fueling your body with its proper nutrients to attune to that light body and that higher vibrational state. And also creating a few more other tips that may help others on their journey as they've helped me. So again, that is krystalinparadigm.com. And you can also find me on Instagram for Krystal Perkins Intuitive. I'll be broadcasting more new moon and full moon messages and meditations so that we all can begin to tune ourselves to the cosmos with our bodies and be in that alignment and show up for ourselves. Because when you meditate, know that you're making an appointment with your soul. So let's make it good.
Awesome. Well, man, yeah, that's all great. So for anybody listening, definitely hit up Krystal if you've heard this podcast and you resonate with her, because when I talk to people, I'm the one that people have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. So you're one of the people that, like, I like to come to, like, hey, Krystal, like, what do you think of this? Because I have no idea what's going on. So you're legit. You're amazing. I'm going to tune into some of your meditations. So definitely keep me talking to you now posted on everything that you're up to, because I love it. And I want to keep learning and experiencing and growing with you and all this amazing stuff. So I'm stoked for your books, stoked for everything that's coming your way and our way as a global society, and everybody that wants to move their intentions toward service and love and understanding themselves and making this world a better place for everybody. So thank you, Krystal. Thank you to everybody who has heard this, and until next time.
All right. Thanks all.
Bye.
Ciao, Bella.